Sick shirt. You can't have the entire system moving at once. You need to start moving certain body parts and then the next one moves, but they need to fire in the right order. But if everything starts moving at the same time, you're not going to get the effects of that kinetic chain and get that whipping effect, which finishes with the club head. So to get really good club speed, you need to understand the kinetic chain and how to produce power. That starts with dissociation. You can't just get yourself a lot stronger and expect to increase your club speed. You need to know how to move your body first, and it starts with dissociation. Dissociative power for golfers. The ability to move your upper body without the lower body, and vice versa.
That sounds fun.
We'll see.
Go get it. I like the t-shirt, by the way.
Danielle sent it to me. Alright, today I'm back again doing a video for golfers. Today the main focus is going to be dissociative power, or the ability to dissociate. This is just the ability to move one part of the body and create power through that part of the body without using the other part. So for golfers, largely speaking, you need to have the motor control to keep the hips stable while you rotate through the thoracic spine. And you also want to have the motor control to keep the shoulders and the upper body and the torso and the trunk still while you move the hips back and forth. So I'm just going to go through a few examples of dissociation for the upper body. So moving the upper body while you keep the pelvis and the hips still, and then a few examples for the lower body, you know, getting movement through the hips while you keep the torso and the trunk still. So this first movement, I really like this one for golfers. A handful of reasons. I'll kind of explain why in a second. You're going to drop yourself down into a lunge position. Hold on. Boop. Here we go. So drop yourself down to a lunge position. You want the left leg out in front if you're working the band on the right arm. Can't see that. Band is on a mid-level anchor point behind me. You can also do this on a Kaiser machine. From here, you start at the shoulder, opposite arm is out. You're locking the hips in place. So with that right glute, you're gonna engage that to keep the hips still. Then from here, the opposite arm is out. Drive through and slowly come back to your starting position. So this is a pretty basic place to start. If you can't maintain a good hip position as you punch out, slow down the movement. Just try to drive yourself out nice and slow. Work on that rotation through the thoracic spine. That's the middle part of the spine. You're not getting the hips to turn and open, and you're not letting the hips turn and open on the way back. Keep the hips square. If you need to, start nice and slow. Make sure you're getting that rotation and control it on the way back. So even if you have a strong lunge position, you can really punch out on that movement. I would still have people, especially golfers, control the movement on the way back to the starting position, because think about it, in a golf swing, if you're a righty, that movement, the violent part of the movement, is as you twist through and your follow through, versus the backswing, which is slow and controlled. So if at all possible, train in a way that's going to translate directly to your sport. So that banded punch and a lunge, that's a great place to start, just because you have both feet on the ground. It's a good starting spot for most people. You can just add progressions of this as you go. As you progress, you can just add layers of instability, standing on a Bosu ball, standing on a single leg, doing the same thing, working on that drive out, moving through the thoracic spine, but the hips stay still. You can also increase the demand on the hips by elevating that back leg. Drop yourself down. Now you're kind of in a Bulgarian split squat. Same basic idea, punch out, control on the way back. And there's a bunch of different versions of that you can do using a band, using medicine balls. There's a lot of different options, but this video is just kind of explaining what dissociation is, so I'll just cut it off there. So we addressed keeping the lower body still, keeping the hips in place, legs still, hips facing forward, while we got that movement through the thoracic spine without rotating through the hips, kind of the dissociation between the upper body and lower body. You also need to do the reverse and have the motor control to be able to dissociate, keeping the upper body still while you get movement through the lower body. Easiest place to start on this. Just keep yourself braced. If you want to, sort of cross your hands so you know where you are. You can even get yourself into a basic golf setup. Try to keep those shoulders still while you rotate those hips back and forth. That would be a very basic place to start. Let's go. Let's go. So that would be a very basic place to start. Just like in your golf setup, keeping the upper body still while you try to get the movement through the hips. Another way you can do it is start by getting active engagement. So light band, row in, try to keep everything still in the upper body and still get that movement through the hips while the torso stays still the whole time. It's gonna be a really sexy video, just me gyrating. I think 2 examples is probably enough. You can also do this with like plank iterations on the floor. Keep the upper body still as you kick a leg underneath or move a leg to the outside. So there's a lot of different iterations you can do. Really, this video is just more trying to get people to understand the concept of dissociation, moving the upper body while the lower body stays still, or vice versa, moving the lower body and the hips while the upper body stays still. So the reason this matters, they're cleaning upstairs. The reason this matters for golfers is because to effectively get through the kinetic chain and get the most power, you can't have the entire system moving at once. You need to start moving certain body parts and then the next one moves, but they need to fire in the right order. But if everything starts moving at the same time, you're not gonna get the effects of that kinetic chain and get that whipping effect, which finishes with the club head. So to get really good club speed, you need to understand the kinetic chain and how to produce power. That starts with dissociation. You can't just get yourself a lot stronger and expect to increase your club speed. You need to know how to move your body first, and it starts with dissociation. Sick shirt.